I'm going to talk to you today about your brand is what Google says it is, what AI says it is, and how you can take back control. And for those of you who can read, I'm going to give you a digital marketing strategy that covers you today into the future. And it's universal, so everybody can use it. Ooh, and it's incredibly simple. I've spent 12 years boiling down digital marketing, SEO, and mastering AI into the simplest possible format that anybody can do. And I'll give you an example. I was at the baker's yesterday. I explained it to the baker in 3 minutes. She understood the entire principle. So, I might be overselling it, but your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Very famous quote from Jeff Bezos. Your brand is what Google and AI say about you when you're not in the room. In a digital marketing world, that is key. If you think about what Google and AI do, they recommend solutions to problems, and we use them because we trust them. What they say about you to their users when you're not in the room is fundamental. And if you start your entire digital marketing process, your SEO strategy and your AI strategy from the principle that you want them to say what you want them to say, you don't leave it to luck, you don't leave it up to them. You control what they say about you, and you've won the game. Because you can't control what people say, but you can control what Google and AI say. And that's what we do at Kalicube. And that is what I'm going to explain to you today. There's going to be a huge 60-page PDF download at the end that will explain the how-to. At Kalicube, we've found a fundamental truth that is existential in its importance. And we share it with everybody. So we have 60-page downloads, explains exactly what you need to do. You can do it yourself if you're a smart marketer. In fact, you can do it yourself if you're a baker. Our business model is to offer premium services to entrepreneurs and their companies. So I'm sharing this with everybody. I'm sharing it with you. I share with you exactly what we do at Kalicube, and you'll see how much money it makes. And I think that's key as well. We often forget as digital marketers, as SEOs, that we're not here for visits. We're not here for visibility. Ultimately, we're here to make money for our clients or our boss. So we'll start with what they say about me. All of these engines, Google search, Bing search, and all of these AIs. That's my knowledge panel. Knowledge panel on Google is a sign that Google has understood who you are, what you do, and who you serve. My knowledge panel explains my entire life perfectly accurately. The purpose of a knowledge panel is to summarize the person or the corporation so that you, the user, doesn't have to visit multiple sites clicking on the links to find it all out. It's a summary of my life, and I'm not going to read it all out, but you can see it there. And all of that information is in that knowledge panel. John Mueller from Google said they don't know anybody externally who has as much insight into how knowledge panels work than Jason Barnard. They also said for them it's just algorithmic. Jason's the only person who can actually control what shows in a knowledge panel. But I can also control ChatGPT. That description of me is incredibly accurate and incredibly positive. It knows who I am, who I serve, what I offer them, and it states explicitly, am I worth following? Absolutely. It thinks I'm a trustworthy, credible solution to the problem that its user is facing. Google Learn About. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend going and have a look at it. I call it the ChatGPT killer because it has the answer, it has related content, it has follow-up questions, and it has context on the left-hand side. And if you search for the founder the CEO, the entrepreneur or the investor in your company, you won't find a result which is this detailed and this accurate and this helpful. And you should, because the CEO, founder, investor in your company should be a public figure, especially in the B2B space. Same thing for a company, and we'll see that in a moment. But they all say the same things about me. When DeepSeek came out, first thing I did, download it, ask it, who is Jason Barnard? It answered perfectly, and it answered the way I wanted it to. And I didn't even know that technology, that particular platform existed. I found Mistral AI literally 2 days ago, asked it the question, the answer is perfect. I control what Google says about me in the knowledge panel, what ChatGPT says about me, and what every single one of these AI engines say about me, even down to the one I like is the Meta one. A friend of mine has Oakley glasses with Meta AI in the glasses at the front. He asked it who I was, and it wrote in front of his eyes the answer of who is Jason Barnard. Once again, accurate, positive, convincing. Anybody researching me will see that I'm an authority in the field, and they will see the brand narrative that I want them to see. Every CEO founder needs a result like this, starting with the knowledge panel on Google. If Google understands you, the AI will understand you too. And we'll see why that happens, why that is the case, why that is so reliable later on. Now, Kalicube, obviously, I'm not just going to play this trick on myself. I'm not going to build this strategy just for me. I'm going to build it for Kalicube. So we have Google Learn About. Once again, it's experimental, only in the US. That's a great answer. ChatGPT, that is an astonishingly good answer. And I fed it all this information. That is wonderful. It actually says why you don't want to work with me. If you want traditional SEO services, link building, don't come to Kalicube. If your budget is very limited, don't come to Kalicube. We're a premium service. If you expect instant results, don't come to Kalicube. I've explained to ChatGPT who I want as a client, the top 4, and who I don't want. So the leads I get from ChatGPT are incredibly, incredibly well-focused and expect to pay premium prices for long-term results that are going to take a few months to kick in, and they're not looking for traditional SEO services such as link building, local SEO, or PCC. I get the clients, the prospects, bottom of funnel from ChatGPT that I want and that I can actually help. And it works across all the different platforms once again. Your CMO will want a result like that for your brand, your corporate brand. Once again, starting with the knowledge panel. Get the knowledge panel on Google. Google will understand who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And if you can get that to happen, the AI will understand you. Now, a quick piece of information there. You can expect a knowledge panel to update and evolve in 3-month iterations. You can expect AI to catch up 3 months later. That's why you're not getting instant results. So 3-month iterations for both the knowledge panel and for the AI. The AI is about 3 months to 6 months behind Google's knowledge panel. But focus on the knowledge panel. It's a great KPI, and it shows, once again, that Google understands who you are, what you do, and which audience you serve. If Google understands, the AI will understand. Once again, we'll see that why in a moment. And that's the key. I've spent years in SEO. I've spent years talking about digital marketing, and I so often lost sight of that. I'm trying to make money, either for my own company, in my case, or my clients. I don't just want to drive traffic. I don't want to get eyeballs if they're not going to make me money. And that's what happens. I've built my personal brand and Kalicube's brand into the brains, the algorithms of Google, Microsoft, and the AI like ChatGPT. And we're multiplying revenue 6-fold in just 4 years. We're getting the right people to our site. We're getting the right people contacting us. I'm talking to the people I can actually help. So if you want to get results like this, we've obviously called it the Kalicube process. I created this. It's taken me 27 years in SEO and 12 years just doing this, focusing on brand as the pillar, the single most important pillar. Brand in Google initially, now brand in Google and AI, to boil it down to this very, very simple process. And it's a process that will allow you to dominate your niche, both myself, in my case personally, but also your corporation. So it depends what you're working on. For B2B, it's really, really important to work on both the CEO, founder, and the corporation. For B2C, generally speaking, you're going to be working mostly on the corporation. The Kalicube process works for both people and companies, and it's 3 phases: understandability, credibility, deliverability. Understandability is all about your clear, consistent brand narrative. Now, that's important for Google, it's important for AI, but it's also important for your audience. And that means a clear, consistent brand narrative on your website, replicated on every single platform where you're present. Every profile, every social media account, every article about you, your YouTube videos, you need that clear, consistent brand narrative. Your human audience will see it as they come down the funnel, and they'll be comfortable with your brand. They'll trust you. People buy from companies and people they trust, they know. AI and Google recommend the companies and the people that they know and they trust. And they know and they trust somebody or a company that has a clear, consistent brand narrative that makes sense to them. Next, credibility. Demonstrate your EEAT credibility. For those who don't know what EEAT is, it's expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, and it's a Google-y acronym. At Kalicube, we had an N at the start for notability and a T at the end for transparency. Without notability, you won't get to the top of the list, notability being famousness, and without transparency, nobody's going to trust you. I just call it credibility. Google like to break it down into experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, notability and transparency. Credibility just makes sense to me. However you demonstrate your credibility, you need to do so. And for a company, that's going to be customer reviews, user-generated content. It's going to be the organizations within your industry that you're a member of. For a person, it's going to be your education. It's going to be books you've written. It's going to be articles you've written on authoritative websites. You can build that credibility over time, and you need to demonstrate it to Google and to the AI, because they will recommend the people and the companies they trust and that they feel are a credible, authoritative solution for the subset of their users who are your audience. And if you look at that, the subset of their users who are your audience, focus on that. They have billions of users. You can't serve billions of users. Identify the subset of their users who are your audience. Focus on building understanding about who that is so that the machines can deliver you to the right people, and focus on creating EEAT credibility in the eyes of your audience and then communicating that to the machines so the machines trust you and believe you are the best solution to the problem of the subset of their users who are your audience. Next, deliverability. You have a lot of content. You're probably creating a lot of content. You need to amplify it. And you can amplify it by feeding it to the machines. So SEO is often, well, I'll create some content for a specific keyword. I'll try and rank, and that's going to solve all my problems. You should be creating content that serves a purpose for your audience, and then package it for SEO, package it for the machine so that they can easily digest and understand it, because then they can deliver your solution, your content to the subset of their users who are your audience. And that's fundamentally important. And when I say amplify, I mean go onto all your different platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, different media platforms that you're publishing on, and make sure the machines can understand that it's you. Make sure that the content is clearly written, that it clearly has a solution to a problem, including in it. And then you can use AI and Google to amplify it even further. Have you ever thought about who the biggest influencer in the world is? It's not somebody on TikTok. It's not somebody on YouTube. It's Google. Google is a recommendation engine. People use that recommendation engine because they trust it. It influences their decision. It's an influencer. ChatGPT is an influencer. Microsoft Bing is an influencer. They're all influencers. They're having trillions of conversations in super niche little areas with billions of individuals and influencing their decisions. They can amplify your message to your audience much, 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 much more effectively than an influencer on YouTube. So, understandability, clear, consistent brand narrative. Credibility, demonstrate your authority. Deliverability, amplify your content. With understandability, you're in control. You control your brand narrative in search and AI. With credibility, you're a clear thought leader or market leader. You're demonstrating both to your users, and always think about that first, and to Google and AI that you are a thought leader, you're a market leader, you're credible, you're trustworthy, and hopefully you're notable. And you're the most visible. One thing I hear when people come on sales calls with me is, I was researching Google knowledge panels. You turn up everywhere. That red shirt is everywhere. They've already made the decision to work with me because they've seen the red shirt all the way down the funnel. The next step, of course, for Kalicube is they say, oh, I see that falcon, the colorful falcon all the way down the funnel, and then I can retire. And that's going to be the aim. I can segue myself out by diminishing the importance of my personal brand and increasing the importance of the corporate brand. And there's a handy hint for you. It's much easier to build a personal brand than it is to build a corporate brand. So if you're kicking off a company, build the personal brand, then the corporate brand, and then do that. That is smart, and it works. I've done it for clients, and I'm now doing it for myself. So why this works, and it's really surprisingly simple, and why it works universally across all these technologies, and why it works out of the box. It worked out of the box for ChatGPT, it worked out of the box for DeepSeek, worked out of the box for Copilot, worked out of the box for Mistral, which is the last one I found. And for Meta, I don't even have Meta. I don't have the glasses. My Italian friend, Andrea Volpini from Wordlift, was the one who sent it to me because I asked him, can you try it? And Mariana, who's helping us today, looked at Bixby because she has Bixby, worked again. Because all of these AI search answer assistive engines, whatever you want to call them, function the same way. It's just 3 different technologies in 3 different blends, depending on which platform you're using. Number 1, LLM chatbot. It's a conversational engine with very limited data. ChatGPT, when it came out, was simply an LLM chatbot where you could discuss, have a conversation. That's revolutionary, being able to have a conversation with a machine. But it's got limited data because it was using its data set. So they added search results, and I'm sure you've all seen ChatGPT now includes search results. Why is that necessary? Because they need to broaden the data set to include the entire World Wide Web, and they need up-to-date information. I can't remember who was talking about this earlier on. They were saying, oh, it's all out of date. Not when they use search. The LLM chatbot will summarize the search results for you. That's why it's so powerful. It's a bit like a knowledge panel. It's a summary of what you would see if you kept navigating through the 10 blue links. And then a knowledge graph. Why? They need to fact check. They're hallucinating. Put stones in your pizza, I think, is the famous one from Google. Don't put stones in your pizza. They need to fact check. So if they need to know who I am, Jason Barnard, and they need to be confident, they need to understand me in a knowledge graph. What is a knowledge graph? A knowledge graph is a machine-readable encyclopedia. Like Wikipedia, but 10,000 times bigger. I'll give you an idea. Wikipedia has 6 million articles, 6 million people, businesses, things, concepts, music groups, whatever. Google's knowledge graph, 54 billion. 54 billion things, people, companies, music groups, songs. I'm in there, Kalicube's in there. You should be in there, your company should be in there, and your boss should be in there. Because that's how they fact check. And if they can fact check, they're going to be more confident. If they're more confident, they're more likely to use you in their results. They're more likely to cite you in their results. And for anybody who's watching the link building talks, if they recognize you as an entity, as a thing in their super duper knowledge graph encyclopedia, you don't need the link because they already know who you are. So every time somebody mentions my name, I don't need a link. If they give me a link, that's great. It's a bonus. But I don't ask for links. Just mention my name. Mention Kalicube. So that's your homework, everybody. Mention me in your articles, in your social media posts. Jason Barnard, Kalicube. Give me a mention. Don't worry about the link. And we've got 3 technologies, and they all use the same public data source, the web. So we have large language model chatbot, plus search, plus knowledge graph, all using the same data source. You probably know where I'm going with this. If you can control the data source, you control all 3 technologies. If you control all 3 technologies, you control the results. You dominate the results. Controlling the World Wide Web is obviously impossible, but controlling your little corner of the World Wide Web is your responsibility, and it's relatively simple. You need to create a hub. The hub is your website. If you're a company, you've probably got one. If you're a person, you probably don't. That hub explains to the machines who you are, what you do, which audience you serve, why you're credible, in your words. They're looking explicitly and actively for your version of the facts. They want your version. John Mueller has said that on Twitter, in talks. They call it the point of reconciliation. I call it the entity home. They're actively looking for your version of the facts, your version of your own credibility. Do they believe you on your own good word? No. They go around the web and they check all the corroborative sources, including your social media profiles, mentions of you in the press, the articles you've written, people writing about you, social media, and they check that you're telling the truth. So you create the hub, you clean up your entire digital ecosystem so that it's all consistent and clear and has the same message, and then you link from the hub to every single piece of information on the web that confirms what you're saying. First party websites, your own. Second party, social media, your own. Third party, somebody else saying this about you. Third party, obviously the most powerful. If you can get a link back, I said you don't need links, but they are better. A mention without a link is powerful. A mention with a link is even more powerful because the bot follows links to go backwards and forwards. So if you have that hub, it says the facts, the corroboration is all consistent, and you've linked, the bot will go backwards and forwards between all the sources and say, oh, I keep seeing the same thing, the same information, the same facts, the same credibility signals must be true. You've got control. And a reminder, all of them function the same way. They use the same 3 technologies. Chatbot, knowledge graph, search results, and they use the same public data source. Control the data source, which is your digital footprint, and you're controlling the bots. You're controlling the AI, and you'll dominate your industry. Now, ultimately, the solution is to build your acquisition funnel in Google AI. That's Fabrice Canel. He's Mr. Bingbot. He builds Bingbot, and he's been there since the beginning. He said when Bing Copilot came out, it's all about recreating the acquisition funnel. If you can do that in these machines' brains, you've won the game. And here's an example. You introduce the conversation awareness, present you as an option, consideration, recommend you as the solution, decision. It's the perfect click, and that's an official Bing term. Copilot brings the user to the perfect click. It guides them down the funnel from top to bottom and gives them the perfect click where they come through and buy. Your job as a digital marketer is to build the funnel, your funnel, in their brain and make yourself the preferred choice of the algorithms at every step of the funnel. And I'll give you an example. Deliverability is the top of the funnel. It's awareness. Have they got the content where they're going to cite you? And here we ask about a knowledge panel and it cites Kalicube. I've got my name in front of them already. The person researching Google knowledge panels already knows Kalicube. Google Learn About cites Kalicube with that top of funnel question. They're aware, and they're aware that they have a problem now, and they're aware that I exist. Next consideration, give me the top experts in knowledge panels. I'm right there at the top. So it's giving them a choice of multiple options, but I'm top. That's a kind of ranking, if you like. Same thing with Kalicube. Myself and Kalicube for a Google Knowledge Panel are undisputed leaders in all of these technologies. The moment of truth is the decision to get that perfect click. Who should I use? And it explicitly says me, and I didn't ask it. I didn't cheat. I simply said, who do you recommend? It immediately said Jason Barnard. I'm ranking number 1. That's the equivalent maybe of a featured snippet. Why are you recommending Kalicube? It gives all the reasons. Once again, it's convincing. It's saying that I'm authoritative. People are using this, ChatGPT in this case, because they trust it. And we're getting clients from ChatGPT. I have a client who said that their conversion rate from Google search is 0.03%. Conversion rate from ChatGPT, 3%. The perfect click. And your funnel in search and AI makes money. You've seen that before. And I really want to insist on the money because it's something I lost sight of. Visibility, great. Traffic, great. At the end of the day, your business wants to make money. Your client wants to make money. Your boss wants to make money. That's what we're all here for. We can have fun along the way, of course. And at Kalicube, we do. So what should you do first? And I think that's key. Get a knowledge panel. Everything is built on the knowledge panel. If Google understands you, gives you a knowledge panel, a big, nice, huge knowledge panel like these two, it's understood who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and it understands that you're a credible solution. Build that knowledge panel, because if you have a knowledge panel on Google, it's understood who you are, what you do, which audience you serve, and that you're credible, and so will the AI. And every new AI that comes out of the box will be accurate, positive, and convincing about you, because they understand who you are. They understand that you're credible. Start with a knowledge panel. Start with understandability. Get control today. So I haven't told you what you need to do in detail, because in 40 minutes, I can't explain the entire Kalicube process, but I can give you a download. 60 pages. There's one for people and one for corporations. We also have how you can dominate AI guide for SEOs, a how to dominate AI guide for content creators, and a how to dominate AI guide for business leaders. We also have a guide, how do I build a knowledge panel? So visit that link and you download the guide that you want. There are 8 guides, I think, 60 pages each, a lot of reading, but a lot of how-tos, a lot of information that I can't possibly explain today. So this talk hasn't been very practical, but with that QR code, you get all the practical information, you get the process, you get the strategy, and you can start building understandability, credibility, deliverability to get into these AI and search algorithms' brains and start to dominate, because they will see you as the company or the person who has the relevant content that will help the subset of their users who are your audience. They will see that you're the most credible solution in market, and they will understand that you deserve the perfect click. So keep in mind the perfect click, keep in mind control, domination, and keep in mind that you can control and dominate your market if you approach it from this perspective. Get the machine to understand who you are, what you do, and who you serve. Convince the machine that you're credible. Give it the material that it can deliver to the subset of its users who are your audience. And if you do that, in order to do that, you actually have to walk the walk. So what I'm doing here is forcing you to go out onto LinkedIn, to go out onto YouTube, to go out and write articles in industry journals for your human audience and simply feed it to the bots to convince them that you're walking the walk. Because all these engines do is try to replicate the world. They're trying to see who is the best solution for the subset of their users who are their audience and send their user with the perfect click to that solution. And if that solution is truly you, you should take your deserved position right at the top of the list in the brains of these machines. Freebie number 2, an AI audit. If you want an AI audit of how well your current digital footprint is set up for the boss of your company or for the company itself, you can get a free audit here. The audit simply explains what the situation is from the perspective of the AI. So the AI is telling you, this is what I'm looking for, this is where you're good, this is where you're bad. And it's free. Thank you very much.